Welcome to everyone who has joined in. In the interest of time, we will get started. If anyone else joins in as we go, we'll make sure they're all caught up. My name is Meredith, and I'm one of the support coordinators here at My Blueprint. And we have Tina here with us tonight, Tina Bergman, who is an educator with the Hastings and Prince Edward District School Board. And tonight we're going to be chatting about feedback and assessment using growth portfolios. Before we get started here, we do have a couple poll questions that we would like to ask you. So I will have Damien set those up for me. The first poll question is coming at you now, and it's going to ask you if you use a digital portfolio tool in your classroom already, or if it's something you'll be doing soon. Okay, so not yet, and yes, also got a good number of people using digital portfolios. So I'm excited to see what all of you who are using digital portfolios already have to say about growth portfolios, and of course, how we can help all of you who are new to portfolios learn a little bit more. So that's something that we'll be diving into for sure. Next up, I do have another poll question for you. And I just want to know about your familiarity with All About Me. So are you a beginner? Are you at the intermediate level? Or do you feel like you're a true expert? So let us know, and we'll be able to sort of give any guiding tips for some of you that might be at the beginner intermediate level as well. Good range of people here. I'm excited that we have so many beginners. I hope that this is going to be a great introduction to using portfolios in your classrooms and being able to see all of the powerful and exciting stuff that they can do. So that's wonderful. Now, the last question I have for you before we get into the good stuff is just to learn a little bit more about why you want to use a digital portfolio in your classroom. Is it because you want to communicate that student learning? If you want to provide that feedback, if you want to get a bit more family engagement, or if there's another reason for why you want to use digital portfolios, let us know. All right, so lots of you who want to communicate that student learning. Well, I think today we'll definitely be able to showcase how you and your students will be able to do that themselves in their portfolios, as well as how we can touch on some of that feedback component too and get everyone involved. So without further ado, I will take the opportunity to introduce my wonderful co-host here, Tina. Tina is a teacher with the Hastings and Prince Edward District School Board and has lots of experience using All About Me in classrooms with students in person, as well as now in a virtual setting online. So we're very lucky to have Tina here with us tonight to lend her expertise and experience to all of you who have joined in. So thank you, Tina. And again, my name is Meredith, and I'm one of the support coordinators at My Blueprint. So as we get started here tonight, Tina, I will stop sharing on my side, and I'll let you take over and take it away with your lesson.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank absolutely everybody for coming ahead and answering those wonderful questions. Because what that does, it gives us a really clear picture of exactly how we can specifically talk to and speak to those wonderful pieces that we're talking to. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I do have an ongoing interest, very, very specifically about virtual learning. I was able to complete my Master's of Education while teaching grade 5, as well as moving on to being a learning support teacher. One of the pieces that I've learned from many of my great colleagues on Twitter is to talk about conversations, whether we're talking about webinar presentations, whether we're talking about book chats, to use those courageous conversations about race. And my promise to you, and I hope with each other here, what we are going to talk about is to stay engaged, speak your truth, definitely experience a little bit of discomfort. And at times, we're going to expect and accept that lack of closure. It absolutely won't answer all of your questions, but we can certainly answer most of them and hopefully continue to keep this wonderful learning community open. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through what I use as my roadmap curriculum, and then I'm going to take you through the assessment for the learning with a live portfolio example, the as learning, and then the of learning. If I'm rushing anything or going too fast, if you have any one of the questions, please do take the time to just drop it right there in the chat where we can take a look at it. And my friend, and just right over here into the chat over here, my friend Meredith and my friend Colleen will be certainly making sure that we can stop and answer any one of those questions. Please note, I will be going in between this piece of the PowerPoint presentation and as well flipping over to those examples. Here in Ontario, for curriculum assessment, we basically focus on what we call the achievement chart. Specifically, I'm going to show you mathematics today. I'm hoping to slide in a few examples of literacy, but I just chose one piece of the curriculum to show how we can actually use this as a growth portfolio. It is up to you as to your professional judgment. How do you create your own rubric? How do you create your own assessment? In Ontario, we have this wonderful piece called the achievement chart. Basically, what I do is I spend a lot of my time right down here for learning into the communication piece. How do my students express and organize their ideas and information? Whether they can do it with a high degree of effectiveness, or whether I can actually submit a little bit of descriptive formative feedback in a comment or a reflection and actually help them move towards the next step. Just to show you what I'm talking about, again, I'm going to move a little bit slower because that was just a little bit too fast. Speaking specifically, we're talking about these specific curriculum objectives here in Ontario. For my students, basically, what I've been doing is when I was doing the face-to-face in September, was that my students and I had created this own math protocol. We were going to take out our math centers, we were going to count all of the objects. Then we were going to ensure with their dry erase board, they were writing down how many objects they had, which was a numeracy piece, make a pattern. At this point being generally, we move from repeating patterns to increasing patterns. And last year, you'll see some of my students doing the decreasing patterns. This is basically a grade 2, grade 3 curriculum. But if I can take you straight over to the assessment for the Western and Northern protocol. This is a little bit of an older model. Yes, I used to teach in Alberta. I am a graduate of Edmonton's university system. I did a music partially for my first 3 years, and then I moved to University of Alberta and graduated with my Bachelor of Education. So here we're taking a look at the example I have today to show you is using patterns to describe very specific. They are going to describe, going to extend, basically as well, going to show those very specific examples of 2 to 4 elements or 3 to 5 elements. And you will see some of my grade 2 or 3 students using more than those 3 to 5 elements. So what I'd like to do is take you to one of those examples. I do have permission from each one of these sets of parents. I've also invited some of the parents, and I'm hoping that they will be able to see their children at work. So this was September 18th of last year. This is the comments that I've left for my friend, and I'm just going to take you through the video.
I have A, B, A, B, B, A, B, B, B.
Basically, what you're seeing here is an increasing pattern with 2 specific artifacts. And what I did was I left my friend Lexi here some very clear descriptive. Could you add C or a third feature or artifact to your pattern? I'm letting her know she's done a great job. and she's demonstrating and communicating very clearly as to what her pattern is. That you can see was on September 18th. And if we take a little bit of a look down here, this is November 26th. So again, just making that a little bit bigger for you. And
decreasing equals by 3 to 1. Then I have a spider, then a cockroach or mummy.
just wanting to communicate that what you're hearing is myself teaching another small group or working within another group of students. So in this particular pattern, Lexi, my friend, was a little bit upset that she didn't have enough pumpkins to exactly match her attributes, but we had decided that this was a close enough match. And I'll continue.
Some pumpkins and spider eyes, cat eyes.
What you're also seeing here is that my friend Lexi is not only moving from an increasing pattern, she's actually moved to a decreasing pattern in a very short number of weeks. From September to November of 26th, I've had a group of children move quite quickly through the actual curriculum. So going back to our webinar, taking a look at the number of attributes. Oh, pardon me. That seemed to be very quick. There we are. So we're actually taking a look at a decreasing pattern, moving much more than 3 to 5 elements, where that student is working at a grade 2 level. She's actually moving way above and beyond, using the patterns to describe and be able to use it within a table or chart. That piece is coming up next, where I am able to show you my friend.
So I got a grounded dog D.
So basically with this pattern here, my friend has actually created a decreasing pattern. The way that she's got her design flipped up at this point is an increasing, but the way that she's explained it on paper has specifically gone to a decreasing pattern.
And it decreases, and this pattern begins with 4 and swings with 1. And it's yellow, pink, and orange.
So my students are able to use this wonderful My Blueprint where they are able to take a QR code and quickly move through the curriculum by following again this protocol. And we will have this available for you at the end. So you'll be able to take a picture of that. I would encourage all of the teachers to co-create their particular protocol of how they would work with their particular students. All right, I'm going to have my friend Meredith go ahead and kick in. I do want to make sure I do get to the assessment as the learning and assessment for the learning. What we do in Ontario is we definitely use our achievement charts to make sure that we've hit through all of those pieces. And for the curriculum for the Northern and Western protocol, you would actually use those pieces there to ensure that your child has gotten to those pieces. So Meredith, if you're ready, we're going to have folks begin to log in. One other quick thing, just while Meredith and while I'm stopping to share my screen and while she's getting ready to do that, I will just note that through each one of the portfolio, you can see that each one of the items are actually tagged. For each one of my particular students, they're either tagged as math, or they're tagged as literacy, or they're tagged as science. Each one of the pieces are actually tagged so that you can quickly go through that and begin to show parents and talk about that. And I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you, Tina. So I'll just quickly get my screen up here. So for those of you that might be new to My Blueprint and All About Me, or if you're someone who's used it before, you can visit myblueprint.ca and log in if you already have your account set up. If you're new to My Blueprint, you can visit myblueprint.ca/start, and you'll be able to access and get your account set up from there. We don't want to spend too much time tonight having you get logged in and things like that. We do want to give you the opportunity to ask questions, but we wanted to make sure that this information was shared with you so that you would be able to understand your next steps. So I can see that we do already have one question here that's come into the Q&A, and it's a great question, Tina, and I think it's one that will be good for you to answer. So we have it here, and it's about who videos or who records the learning, and what do you use? It as a phone or a camera or a laptop? And then do you upload it to your drive and attach it to a portfolio? Or is it, how do you go about that?
So with the protocol itself, you'll be able to see that where the students are actually collecting their own QR code. If I could share my screen again, Meredith, would that be all right?
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right, so sharing the screen. On My Blueprint itself, I'm going to take you into that particular class. So these are the students that are in my class. Clicking either here, you can add the students. I've added all of my families, but what it quickly says here is QR codes. You actually can click on the download all. Because it's a privacy issue, I won't do that at this time. But what I do is have these QR codes laminated and available to the students. I have 8 iPads that are particularly ready to roll. And because of the pandemic, what I do is I wash and disinfect each one of the iPads every single time that it's done. So for example, if I can impersonate my friend here, what she's going to do is she's going to add a box. She's going to add media. She's going to record the video itself. You have all of these other options, which are certainly absolutely available to you. But my students prefer to record the video within itself. And after that, the video comes up. And at this point, Houston, we have a problem because I'm operating on my laptop and not an iPad. And basically, because of that piece, the students are able to record their video and actually save it within there. It's such a very simple, easy process that everyone is able to do it. Again, these students last year were grade 2, grade 3. This particular year, when I started in September, I can show you some of my friend here's work. I believe I have her set up here already. This is a student that started in September by
Tina, I think we just need you to share your screen again.
Thank you for the reminder.
No problem.
So there we are. This student was she was coming into grade 2, I believe. And she had last year finished in March. This is a student who would go and grab one of the iPads. They were easily able to download, record it. These are a lot of the tools that I do use. These dry erase boards were, yes, something I did make myself. What the student does in the protocol, they record count specifically all of the items that they had. So she had 82 items, and she chose to write 2 sentences here as to recording the number, and she used 30 of these items. The protocol specifically asks, and I'm just going to see if I've got the latest one here, is how. Let's see.
It has a pattern. It goes red, blue, red, blue. It goes A, B. These are my blocks.
And so this was a repeating pattern that she had started with. That was in October. And then by the next few days, she was actually making that decreasing pattern. So I'm just going to stop sharing again so that I can address some of the other questions.
And just before you move on, Tina, I just want to identify a few things that you did just bring up there, and that with the QR code, it's so easy for those younger students to log in. If you do have students that are a little bit older and have email addresses, they can easily log in that way, and I think it's great that there is the opportunity there. But really, I think what I want to highlight is even something you mentioned earlier, how you were in the background of one of those videos teaching another small group, and it still allowed students to be able to document and communicate their own learning. So it doesn't have to be something that is really driven by the teacher to do all of that recording or video or photo taking. You can really encourage the students to take that ownership themselves and really embrace the portfolio themselves, so it can be something that they get to contribute to and feel really proud about. And I think already what you're showing with the students' work is that you can see the growth that they're making as an educator, or maybe as a parent. You can see that growth all in one place, but students are able to see that too. And that's really special for them to be able to see sort of how they've grown and improved throughout the school year. So I think it's great to empower our students to take that ownership and really engage with the portfolios on their own instead of just being prompted. So I think that's wonderful. So I know, sorry to interrupt there, but there may have been a second question there, and if you wanted to get into that.
I actually addressed it, but I don't see where my answer actually went into the answering of it. So I'm kind of, yes.
Okay.
So basically what I did 3 years ago, I was teaching an autistic ASD class, and the students would log on by specifically the myblueprint.ca, show their QR code to the Chromebook, would log on immediately, and they would be able to do either a small dance video or they were able to show an example of their work. It was easy enough to transfer from the iPad right into their, what they love to do, the ASD students, was love to record with the video with the iPad and then switch over to their Chromebooks and be able to talk a little bit about their learning and leave a reflection, pardon me. So I'm just going to talk a little bit here. There's C. Coles. I would love speech to text so my students can edit their work before submitting. What I actually do is use speech to text, particularly for grade 2 and 3. On the iPads, there's a small little microphone. And so the speech to text, all they do is speak into the microphone, and my blueprint actually records their voice, and there is no typing necessary. All of the work that you're seeing in any one of the portfolios, the students have actually done all of that by using the microphone. So definitely speech to text very much.
And I can see here that we have a comment. Kevin from out west has mentioned that Google Read and Write for Google Chrome works as well. So if you have that enabled with your Google Chrome web browser, then it is compatible with All About Me. So that's something that can be used as well in All About Me and My Blueprint. So I think that's great. So thank you, Kevin, for bringing that up and letting us know if that's something that you're using on your side of things. Tina, before we move on with some other questions, I just wanted to double check. I am cognizant of the time here. I just want to make sure that, is there anything else that you wanted to be showing before we really move into that Q&A section?
I think I'm good, just in that I wanted everybody to make sure that they could actually tag for the assessment of the learning before going to the questions. So
sure, yeah. So if you maybe just want to share your screen again and just showcase if you have any artifacts that are specifically tagged, if they have that tag on them, so that people can just see what that looks like on their side as well.
Okay, so taking a look right over here, this is one of the students This is actually artifacts that we made from September. So this is all the way from, I would say, as I scroll down here, September to the end of October when I moved to my virtual classroom. So you can take a look at all of these. This one here is tagged as literacy. And this was my friend writing here. So just very easily.
I'm going to my Uncle Bill's and having barbecue for dinner. There we are.
So that is simply tagged as green as literacy. The other ones are tagged as numeracy. Each one of them actually has a tag and all of them are specifically mentioned as that. You'll see a lot of them where I've got the reflections there. Some of the students have reflection and some of them are just needing reflections within that piece too.
Yeah,
You
so
don't
Tina,
have to
sorry to
reflect.
interrupt. If you just want to go back to that student's portfolio that you were just in, I
Sure.
wanted to point out a few things just because I know you're talking about them. So one was that you used colors to tag things. So the boxes in each student's portfolio can be updated with a different color. So if you wanted to use green for language and blue for math, that's possible. But also at the top here, Tina, you have those tags outlined. And you'll see just on that box underneath the add box button, there's a blue box called My Array. And at the bottom there of the box, you'll see that there are tags listed there. And now they're on the left-hand side of the screen, just under the title where it says Math Number Sense. So that's another great way if you just want to use those tags to filter and see only those artifacts that are associated with math. It's another great way to do the assessment in the portfolios as well. And that can be done, at report card time or even during a parent teacher interview or student led conference so that you can highlight those particular artifacts. So that definitely is great. I just wanted to identify you had two sort of ways of organizing your portfolios, which I thought was really neat, and wanted to highlight that for some of our beginners here. So that's great.
And those are always very easy to do within the filter here. And they're always extremely very easy to do just by tagging on there, pressing in the tags, and then adding the different teacher tags. I simply created these very easily, but you could also just go ahead and type in fun for literacy centers. And that as well can just be simply added by a quick click and then away it goes. It really doesn't matter, whatever. That's the beauty of my blueprint. You certainly can individualize it according to what you desire to fit the needs for you and your student. It's completely up to you. Just one more quick piece here where we've got my friend here. Lots of science in particular. You can see science and math. You can see all of those other pieces. And again, with the filter, you're just color coding them and putting them in together. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and
Okay, that's great.
hopefully.
I love to see that, students are able to do that themselves, and it can be, again, a bit scaffolded with the teacher's assistance of those teacher tags. So I can see that we do have a few questions coming in here. So I think it would be fun if we sort of answered them out loud. So we'll move into our Q&A section here officially. We have a question that's coming in from Allison that's asking, it looks like the K-5 students get a different environment to develop their portfolio. And can my class, which I believe is a little bit older level, alter to have that option despite the older grades? So that's a great question. And I'm not sure if anyone else has had this question before, or if they've been able to update their portfolios to reflect that younger years look, but it is possible. I'll quickly just open up our brand new help center. It's help.myblueprint.ca, where we have a lot of articles to support these types of frequently asked questions. And so I have this article that's listed right here about, can I access All About Me as a high school student or as a student that uses that education planner? So there are a few steps that you can follow as students. They can easily follow these steps. And then once they log in to their My Blueprint or accounts, they'll be able to switch over to that All About Me view so that they can get that younger environment if that's something that your students might benefit from. So hopefully that helps. And we can definitely share a link to this article if that's something that you would be interested in reading a bit more about. So I can share that in the chat right now, and hopefully, or actually I can just answer the question here and hopefully that helps. Okay.
Perfect. And I'm thinking that we've got all of them answered, but there we go.
I think so. So I'm just going to double check as we go through here. If there are any more questions or comments, feel free to add them into the Q&A box or button at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and we'll be sure to address them.
Okay, so I'm just going to move over to the chat here, and it says for Miss Coles, I would love speech to text so my students can edit their work before submitting. My dyslexic and illiterate older students love the QR to be able to log in and share their work with family. Is that not just a recorded voice? No, actually, when you hit if you're using an iPad or actually any type of tablet at all, most of our dyslexic or students, as I call them, reluctant readers, they will actually have a voice to text function on whichever tablet or Chromebook that they're using. In particular, I find this really very useful so that they can actually do the suggested words or the suggested comments. So as you're going ahead and hitting that record button, the other piece too is that they can have cue cards that will help them also be able to know that this is math and know that this is literacy and know that these other pieces are there. So once you hit that microphone, it will be up to you and your child and that individualization of how you develop their instructional goals. When I was teaching our ASD regional room, we had a lot of students that were somewhat verbal, some non-verbal. So we were able to show the work that they were able to do by just having themselves or someone else record their specific work. And we were able to take a look at very specific instructional goals, which was very, very helpful for parents and for many, many guardians. So again, you get to cue it up as to the way you specifically like. So it's totally up to you. Oh, and we've got another question in the chat. Yes, particularly. G. Pappas has specifically talked about descriptive feedback, but what I really love about my blueprint particularly is that I can actually have students record their own reading. So we use a very specific benchmark program. And within the benchmark, many students are actually doing their own reading and their own writing. I'm just going to look to see if I can see an example of that for you, Meredith, before I open up these specific pieces.
Sure.
And
I mean, I think just if I can hop in here for a moment while you're looking for that example, I think it's a great tool to not only document learning from home because of the fact that some of our learners are learning virtually, or to even just have students document whatever learning they're doing on the weekend, or if they're doing something with their siblings or their family. It's another great way for them to take that ownership of their portfolio and share that learning so that they can showcase the growth. I'm sure as educators, a lot of us have had those moments where students come in on a Monday morning and they tell us about something that's connected to the learning we did the week before as well. And, you know, sometimes we want to be able to see that. So it's a nice way, again, to have that opportunity.
and I have a perfect example for you.
Okay.
I have one of my students who actually made some Play-Doh at home, which was a very cool measurement piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and share that piece.
Excellent.
And take you through my little friend here. And here we go.
Hey, Mr. Bergman. Tonight I was doing an experiment with my because my mom bought me this bath bomb kit, and I had leftovers like baking soda, coconut oil, colored stuff, food smell stuff, and since they're glow in the dark, I got this little light to glow in the dark with. So basically what I made is I made homemade Play-Doh. It is pink, red, and a little bit of orange. And this is it right here. It's not like clay, it's not like slime. It's actually literally like Play-Doh. So yeah, I made Play-Doh. It's pretty cool. It's perfect. It's like this color. It's like it's a light pink, and it kind of looks like strawberry.
So quite easily, if you're doing any kind of science experiments or any of those particular things, absolutely, that would be an amazing piece that you could certainly add to that.
Yeah, and what a nice example to showcase to Tina, to sort of see that learning at home and just be able to share that experience with your students as well, and that they have the excitement of being able to share it with you. So I'm so excited that you were able to share that with us. So as we're sort of moving on here, I do want to be aware of the time. And so if there are any other questions, again, feel free to pop them in that chat box or in the Q&A section, and we'll make sure that we get to those just before we wrap up here. But I do want to let you know, if I'm not seeing any questions coming in right now, so I will just let you know, for everyone who has registered for today's webinar, we have a wonderful giveaway going on. You have all been entered into a draw to win a copy of Collecting Evidence and Portfolios, Engaging Students in Pedagogical Documentation, which is something that obviously we're very passionate and excited about here at My Blueprint, and as Tina has shown us here tonight. So we'll be doing a draw for that tomorrow, and we'll be letting the winner know by email. So a little fun, exciting tidbit for joining and spending your afternoon or evening with us here today and asking such wonderful questions and learning a little bit more about digital portfolios and the idea of documenting that student growth and being able to provide that feedback and having an opportunity for assessment all in one place. I do just want to take the moment to let you know about our amazing My Blueprint community. If you want to continue this conversation online, or you want to extend, your connections with any of the other educators here tonight, we have an amazing community that we started this year. And it's a professional learning community so that you can connect with educators from across the country to learn about how they're using My Blueprint in the classroom, or technology in general, or just general discussions about education and some hot topics, whether it's teaching virtually like Tina knows all about, or other things. So if you're interested, please go ahead and join. We're always excited to have more members joining our community so that we can continue to have these exciting conversations online.
Such an enjoyable piece to actually share what my students are doing. And thank you everyone for being here. It's just been great.